I would like to share a personal anecdote real quick. So, earlier this year, I received some harrowing news. I was told that a family member had passed away, and I was truly devastated. I didn't shed any tears because I had to be strong for my younger brother, since I was the only family he could really be with at the time. However, no matter how strong you think you are, there will always be something in this world to tip you over. So, what I usually do before going to bed in boarding school is read manga for about an hour and then get myself ready for the next day. So, after reading for an hour, I put my iPad on the charger and laid down on my bed. The problem was, I just couldn't fall asleep. I was too scared to sleep. At that moment, I was experiencing an existential crisis. I was too scared to die. Too scared to see family members die. So, you know what I did to calm myself down? I just continued to read manga for about another hour until I was able to calm myself down just enough for me to even sleep that night. Now, you may be thinking, I'm just gonna throw some corny line about how you should persevere through tough times, face everything head on. No, that's not the important part. I told all of that to you so you would see how embarrassing the next thing I am going to tell you is. So, that manga, right? As of writing this video, I am around 981 chapters completed of One Piece. Well, when I'm recording it now, I'm caught up. So, you may be thinking that the manga that pulled me out of that existential crisis was One Piece. Sadly, no. The title of the video is what got me through an existential crisis. A manga about adult female teachers hooking up with their mostly underaged male students got me through an existential crisis. Look, right, I'm not even sure I'm a functioning human being anymore. Sometimes the feats that I can pull off surprise me. If you are new to this channel, then you may be wondering, what is something cursed? Well, regardless of whether or not you're new, you wouldn't even know. This is a new series where I will be going over the most cursed content that media has to offer. Now, when I say cursed, I don't mean Meat Canyon levels of cursed. I mean Yosuga no Sora levels of cursed. It was actually meant to be what featured in this episode. However, that would mean I would have to watch it twice. Why the hell would I do that? So I thought a good enough substitute would be Nande Koko ni Sensei ga! The ultimate remedy to depression. Nande Koko ni Sensei ga! Is an anthology manga following the tales of random high school boys and their romantic relationships with their female teachers. Now, some of them are indeed 18 years old, so the teachers are within their full legal right to date them. However, at points, the school contract is heavily breached. Under no circumstance should a teacher and a student date whilst the student is currently learning in the teacher's institution. What I am saying is that if they are both legal adults, then the best course of action would be to wait until graduation. Thankfully, that does happen with one of them. The others are a bit iffy, to say the least. Some of them either actively breach the contract or actively breach the contract and break the law simultaneously. Yeah, some of the boys are actually underage. Here's a bit of a mind teaser for you though. Swap the genders and sexes of the characters. Realize how cursed it would be for grown men to go after high school girls or vice versa. Then realize that you are a true advocate for gender equality and that swapping the genders and sexes was pointless because whether the teachers are female, male, etc., it would be equally cursed. So, I thought that this episode would be a tier list going over every single teacher and students that featured in the anime. Unfortunately, the manga-only boys and girls are getting axed today. If you want me to go over the manga-only people, I would be happy to do so at a much later point in life. So now, it's time to see some real crap. I discovered something when searching the names of the characters. The first teacher is voiced by Uesaka Sumire, who is the voice of Nagatoro. This video just keeps getting better, I'm telling you. Kana and Ichiro meets when, one day, he encountered her sitting in a stall in the men's staff bathroom. Her excuse is that the female toilets were being cleaned, so she just said, "Crap baskets." As Sato tries to leave the stall, it gets locked, thus preventing his exit. He didn't want to get trapped in the same room as what the students call the demonic sensei. But to make matters worse, some boys enter the bathroom. so Kana tries to make it look like she's the only one in the store, to prevent anyone from starting any rumors. By the way, I'll be doing a lot of censoring in this video. We are only here for the plot. You hear me, you scoundrels? Long story short, they were able to avoid disaster, and Kana was able to go number 1 in front of her students, thus making her activate tsundere mode. But just before she became an anime and manga stereotype, we remember the entire reason Ichiro came to the bathroom in the first place. Now, these relationships tend to be very formulaic, so the best option I can do is rate them based on how they conducted themselves during, the whole falling in love stuff. Ichiro and Kana share a humble past. Kana was struggling to find out what her passion was when she was but a wee teenager, but after a much younger Ichiro decided to do a pyrocynical copypasta, they bonded together and he really inspired her to follow her dream. As we fast forward to the present, we see that Kana and Ichiro had grown distant because Kana had to go to university, so Ichiro forgot all about her since he was so young the time they had met. But because his mom was as sharp as a whistle, she had remembered that these two used to know each other. So she encouraged them to pursue a relationship like the good and law-abiding parent she is. After reuniting and realizing who the other was, their love was cemented. But it's still pretty unethical. So Ichiro is indeed a teen, but that means that Kana is within her full legal right to date him. However, she can't date him if he's a student at the school she teaches at. The reason why stuff like this is heavily avoided is because they don't want teachers doing special favors like altering test marks and junk. Oh yeah, I should also tell you guys some interesting factoids. So there's this one scene that involves a repository. Now, I'm not gonna tell you what it is, I'll just show you this image right here. Basically, that scene is an anime-only scene. There are a lot of manga-only scenes also. To be honest, I'm glad that some of them are manga-only scenes, cause we don't want to talk about them. Although it is pretty unethical for a student and teacher to date, right? There isn't really much I can comment on Kana and Ichiro's relationship, because, it's actually one of the more tame ones. As I said, they are very formulaic, and what happens with all of them is that the boys just keep falling on top of the teachers, thus making them fall in love even more. It's like the first lesson you learn when you want to be a tsundere. So I'm going to give Kana a D for demon, and Ichiro a nice C as well. Ichiro is as basic as you can get compared to the other boys. Oh yeah, and to add a final anecdote about the mom character, so she basically gets Kana drunk just so that her son can make a move at her. Based freaking mother, I'll tell you that. Mayu is automatically sent to Heffeltier. I'll explain, just wait. Mayu and Suzuki's first interaction is simple. They just eat lunch together. I mean, there's nothing wrong here. A student is alone and doesn't have anyone to hang out with, so she feels as if it's her duty as his teacher to cheer him up. Suzuki is your buff yet huggable soft guy who is always reliable. Mayu is more reserved, but she is very passionate about her students.
Maybe a tad bit too passionate, but
She's called the angel teacher for a reason. Mayu and Suzuki's dynamic stems from their first ever encounter. Mayu wanted to become a teacher, but she was running late for her final exams in uni. She said bin it for the taxi because there was traffic and decided to book it in high heels. She didn't make it very far. Luckily, Suzuki was there. Like Koizumi, he blitzed to the exam venue with her on his back, and with time to spare. She couldn't catch his name, but she knew that, nonetheless, she would hold him deep in her heart forever. As I've said, Mayu is considered an angel by her students, so it only makes sense that she wants her own angel in her life. The only issue is that her angel is 17 years old, and her first ever encounter with him happened 3 years prior to that first interaction that we see. So that means that Mayu fell in love with a 14-year-old Suzuki. I'm not making this up, this is all from the manga and anime. That is exactly why we had to put her in Heffeltier straight away. Thing is, right, it gets worse. There is a chapter in the manga that was cut from the anime. It happens at the same time another teacher and a boy start hooking up. So Suzuki had to stay the night at the next teacher's house since he was out pretty late, and Mayu was also with him. But, you see, Mayu and Suzuki had to share the same bed, and she took a peculiar interest in his lips. She was so interested that she decided to make her and his lips meet and become friends. So, we have falling in love with a 14-year-old and straight up forced romantic gratification.
education on a minor.
Not only does she go to Hiffle tier, but she also needs to go to the Slammer tier. Suzuki can cop a nice B tier since he's a Chad. If I had to give a criticism of this relationship, it would be that it isn't cute at all. In fact, it's kinda creepy. I know that people want a nice petite girl who looks pure, but looks can be deceiving. Mayu is just a straight up nonce. Hikari and Takashi have a childhood friend dynamic, but fortunately for them, they have the cure to the childhood friend syndrome. Childhood friends. Actually, this one doesn't sound as bad as the others. I mean, this video wouldn't be out if it wasn't as bad, if not worse than the others. Long story short, Hikari is in her 20s and Takashi is in his first year of high school. So, we have progressively gotten younger and younger, and therefore much worse. Hikari is a sports teacher at Takashi's school, and is a dark-skinned tomboy, which I hear a lot of weeaboos like nowadays. She's also a gamer. The initial encounter we are introduced to involves Hikari coming over to Takashi's apartment. This child is emancipated! Oh boy, that's gonna be very, very bad. Anyways, Hikari didn't have a working AC, so she just came over to use his, and then she fell asleep in his house. This then leads to Takashi laying down next to her and having a bit of an accident, which I cannot simply show. Another iconic interaction they have is when Hikari goes shopping for women's clothing with him, and the little dude is so embarrassed that he just grabs her whilst she's in the middle of changing and runs out of the store. I guess I can use this to explain their dynamic a tad bit. So Hikari sees Takashi as petite and I mean weak and vulnerable, so it always comes as a surprise to her whenever he does something chadly. Because she sees that in him, she tends to act like a short tan girl who enjoys teasing an art nerd, the complete, utter nonce. Unfortunately for her, she doesn't have the right voice actor, so her bringing him to the clothing store was specifically meant to fluster him. She purposefully tried to fluster a 16-year-old boy to embarrass him. How can we forget the kisses? The first one, as far as I'm concerned, is a manga-only thing. In fact, it happens in the same chapter that Mayu kisses Suzuki in his sleep. They were sneaking around to see what kind of relationship Mayu and Suzuki had, and then they slipped and ended up smooching. I'll let this one slide because it was an accident. However, there is another one I can't let slide. Now this chapter plays out a whole lot differently in the anime than the manga, and for a good reason! In the manga, Takashi was sick during a hike. Hikari was avoiding him because of the kiss, and then he ended up fainting, so Hikari had to take care of him, which makes her reminisce about the interaction. You know what? I'm not gonna beat around the bush anymore. Chapter 25 is just straight up Shotodom, alright? In his fever-ridden state, she kisses him so that she gets over what happened, which is straight up illegal, and then he confesses and falls asleep, leaving Hikari on the edge. The anime has it so that she avoids him for what happened at the store, he chases her, they fall in a river, he gets sick, and then he confesses in his fever-ridden state, which is a whole lot better for Hikari, to be honest. Hikari is just as bad, if not worse than Mayu, because Takashi is much younger than Suzuki. So, Mayu is getting a nice Hiffle tier, and Takashi will chill with Ichiro since they are both kinda unremarkable. It just clocked that Mayu went as low as R. Kelly. Crikey O'Reilly. Finally, a wholesome relationship that doesn't breach the school contract and doesn't break the law. Chizuru is the only girl in this show that I can wholeheartedly say is waifu material. Also, Sundeepai would be mad if I didn't make a white-haired girl waifu material. I mean, look at her! Anyways, Kotanaka is the ex-student council president of his school, who is forever lamenting about how all of his friends are dating teachers and he isn't. In order to brag to his friends, he said that he would get a girlfriend before graduation. He kinda fell short in that department, but luckily he was able to bond with Chizuru, the Ice Queen. Essentially, she just says stuff up front and doesn't even bother euphemizing. So why is it that I say that this is the only relationship I consider wholesome? I already gave it away at the start of this part of the video, but to say it in more detail, over the course of the anime and manga, Ko and Chizuru developed feelings for each other, and when Ko confessed accidentally, he got shot down. It was only immediately after Ko and Ichiro graduated that Chizuru felt it was appropriate to confess to him, so both Ko and Ichiro were 18 at this time. Since this is the most wholesome relationship in the series, surely it has the most iconic moments. No, it doesn't. There's really nothing I can remember. Well, I guess I can give you a bit of a rundown on Chizuru. Chizuru is an ice queen mainly because she didn't interact with a lot of people when she was younger. She's been on a losum so often that her ability to socialize slowly degraded. So she takes an interest in Ko so that she can learn to socialize with others better, and slowly they were able to find love with each other. See, here's the thing. Just because Yasugana Sora had some engaging storylines doesn't excuse it from all the other crap it pulled. Well, what I'm saying is, just because this is the most wholesome relationship in the series doesn't excuse all the others. So yeah, I'm putting Chizuru in A tier, and yeah, I'm putting Ko in B tier, but that doesn't mean that this series is not cursed. There are a lot of crazy shenanigans that happen later in the manga, and I cannot simply describe them to you, so the video is ending here. If you want to see more cursed shenanigans, then please suggest things in the comments section. What constitutes as cursed is a series with characters attempting to justify taboo. So your Oreimos, your Eromanga senseis, etc. It doesn't count if it's just something lewd. Anyways, I am heading out. The next video should be a character analysis and collaboration at the same time. I will also continue this series if this video gets 20 likes. So, you better smash that like button. And by the way, if you smash the dislike button, it won't even matter, you can't even see it. I have been your bringer of cursed content, because remember, if no one is willing to be a masochist, I guess I'll just have to be one myself. Ciao.
Oh!